As we grow older, subtle changes in memory and behavior are expected. But in some seniors, those changes arrive far too soon, and in ways that are deeply unusual. What looks like quirky behavior or innocent forgetfulness may actually be the first red flag of a much more serious condition: dementia. In this video, you'll learn about 7 peculiar, often childlike behaviors that families witnessed months or even years before a diagnosis. Recognizing these early can make all the difference, helping you act before it's too late. But before we dive in, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from today? Leave a comment below with your city or country. I always enjoy seeing where everyone's watching from. It creates a sense of connection, no matter how far apart we may be. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more wellness tips like these. You really don't want to miss what's coming next. Number 1. Hiding objects and blaming others. Juliet, 72, was once the model of organization. Her home spotless, her items always in place. But 2 years before her Alzheimer's diagnosis, her husband noticed she was frequently misplacing things and then blaming others for taking them. It started small. She hid her phone inside a tissue box and claimed it was stolen. Later, she accused the mailman of rearranging her drawers. One day, she insisted her husband had taken her wallet, while holding it in her own hand, mistaking it for a sandwich. As dementia begins, the brain struggles with short-term memory and logical reasoning. Unable to recall where items were placed, the mind creates emotionally believable explanations, like assuming someone moved or stole them. Blame becomes a protective mechanism, a way to avoid confronting internal confusion. Sadly, many families dismiss this as stubbornness until it escalates into paranoia or delusion. Number 2. Shadowing, following others around without speaking. Gabriel, 75, had always valued his quiet time, gardening, reading, enjoying peace. But about 2 years before he was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, his wife noticed a strange pattern. He began trailing her around the house silently. No conversation, no expression, just presence. Eventually, it expanded to visitors. He would stand still just inches behind them, staring without blinking. When his wife finally asked why, he whispered, "I don't know who I'm supposed to be in this house." This behavior is known as shadowing, and it often stems from a loss of mental structure and the ability to initiate actions independently. People with dementia may follow others because they're disoriented and seeking safety. It's not affection, it's a fear-driven coping mechanism. The brain can no longer rely on internal cues, so the person looks outward to others for guidance. Number 3. Repeating words or mimicking movements. Beatrice, 71, loved language puzzles and witty conversations. But before her diagnosis, her daughter noticed Beverly had started repeating the last few words of other people's sentences. At first playfully, then compulsively, she began copying how others stood, moved, or gestured. One day, she echoed everything her daughter said for nearly 15 minutes, word for word, without emotion. When asked why, Beverly replied, "Someone told me to do it. He lives in the attic." This is more than repetition. It's a breakdown in the brain's language and social processing centers. As understanding deteriorates, repeating words becomes a delayed response strategy, a way to buy time when processing fails. Mirroring movements and speech may also stem from confusion about identity or surroundings, often mistaken for playfulness or sarcasm. Number 4. Taking apart objects they never repaired before. Ralphiel, 83, had never been handy. He'd always called a repairman. But one day, he started dismantling the TV remote. Then it was the clocks, the toaster, the light switches. The final straw. He cut the power cord off the coffee maker and said, "This one doesn't boil eggs anymore." As dementia progresses, the brain loses its understanding of object function and cause-effect relationships. Everyday items no longer make sense, and the person may begin solving problems that don't exist. These actions may appear like random tinkering, but they reveal a loss of executive function, the part of the brain that plans, organizes, and understands purpose. This behavior is a form of cognitive displacement, trying to restore order in a world that's no longer mentally coherent. 5. Obsessively sorting random objects into patterns. Christine was 72 when her husband began noticing something odd. She had always kept a neat home, but suddenly she started sorting and organizing things obsessively. Not just tidying, but lining up forks by millimeter differences, stacking cans by label color, and collecting twist ties, which she would count, sort by length, and rearrange endlessly. At first, her husband thought she was just staying active. But things escalated. Christine would spend hours arranging coins into spirals, only to undo them and start again. One afternoon, he found her sitting cross-legged on the floor, carefully arranging cotton balls into a triangle, whispering, "This keeps the house safe." When asked what she meant, she became distressed and insisted she had to continue, or something bad would happen. That moment broke the illusion that this was simply a harmless hobby. A neurologist later confirmed she was experiencing frontotemporal dementia. Experts explain that when the brain's executive function begins to fail, the part responsible for organizing, planning, and understanding context, it often tries to create artificial order. Repetitive sorting gives a fleeting sense of control, even though the behavior is irrational. Families often misinterpret this as quirky or harmless, but it's a deep signal that the brain is struggling to maintain coherence in an increasingly confusing world. 6. Setting alarms for tasks that don't exist. Victory, 76, was a meticulous man. He'd always used calendars and reminders to stay on track. But about 2 years before his Alzheimer's diagnosis, his wife noticed something strange. He began setting alarms at unusual times, like 9:17 p.m. or 3:46 a.m., for no apparent reason. At first, it seemed like a peculiar habit. Then the alarms became cryptic. Some were labeled "check the ceiling" or "turn off the air" when nothing needed attention. He would get visibly anxious if anyone deleted or altered them. One day, he set 8 alarms, each labeled "save me" or "don't forget." He stared at the screen, waiting. When his wife asked what he needed help remembering, he said, "One of the alarms knows the answer, but it won't tell me." That was the moment she realized this went far beyond forgetfulness. Neurologists explain that when the brain loses the ability to manage time and memory, it may create false rituals like setting alarms to simulate a sense of structure. It's not about the tasks themselves. It's about preserving a feeling of readiness and control, even when the person no longer understands what they're preparing for. This is often misinterpreted as anxiety, but it's actually a sign of a disrupted internal clock and cognitive disorientation. 7. Pretending to be busy with made-up errands or plans. Marilyn had always been active. Church events, shopping trips, lunch with friends. But at 80, her son noticed a shift. She began talking about errands that didn't exist, like returning an item to a store she hadn't visited, or being late for an event no one else had heard of. Soon, she was pacing the house every morning with a tote bag, claiming she had important papers to deliver, but refusing to explain where she was going. Then came the turning point. Her husband found her standing at the back door, camera in hand, gazing up at the sky for over an hour, saying, "I need to capture the moment the portal closes today." That week, they received confirmation: vascular dementia, and it had been progressing for nearly 2 years before anyone realized. Doctors explain that this kind of behavior happens when the brain begins to blur imagination with reality. The person fabricates activities or plans to feel useful, to maintain the illusion of purpose. It's not lying. It's a subconscious attempt to fill in the blanks left by a fading memory. The problem isn't the errands. It's the loss of awareness around time, events, and personal identity. And sadly, this is one of the most overlooked early warning signs. Most people believe dementia begins with forgetting names or missing appointments. But in real life, it often begins with small, strange, childlike behaviors. Things that feel off long before they're recognized as medical. These behaviors are the brain's first signs of losing control. And the earlier you recognize them, the better chance you have of slowing the progression, supporting your loved one, and preserving precious time together. Have any of these behaviors felt familiar to you or someone close to you? These signs may seem minor at first, but they speak volumes about what's happening deep inside the brain. Don't ignore them. Take action early. Talk to a doctor. Keep a journal. Share observations with loved ones. You're not imagining things, and you're not alone. If this video helped you see dementia in a new light, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us reach more families and provide more life-changing guidance on aging, brain health, and wellness. And now, if you're ready to learn more about how to strengthen memory naturally, click the next video right here. Thank you for watching Healthy Life, where knowledge becomes your best medicine.